The DC animated universe is often known for tackling dark subject matter in a variety of ways. Some of it is able to very easily do on screen, especially in the lack of censorship eras, such as during Batman Beyond. Static Shock was a lot more able to do this as well, and Justice League and Unlimited, versus something like the era of Batman the Animated Series original run and Superman the Animated Series. But despite that limitation with TV censorship and what they were and were not allowed to show and write, there were a lot of really, really dark episodes. And today we are going to be talking about what would have likely been one of the darkest, if not the darkest episodes of Batman the Animated Series in terms of its plot and potential fallout. Now, if you enjoy this video, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe for more content, and check out everything on the channel, because sometimes notifications are not sent out, and I would appreciate seeing you there. Now, with Batman the Animated Series, recently on Batman the Animated Podcast with Justin Michael, writer David Wise went into detailed accounts of a rejected story that he said could have brought down the wrath of God on the series. This episode was deemed The Darkest Night, and it actually was really, really, really dark. Now, this started out with Batman being lured to a potential meeting point under the ruse of the mayor being kidnapped. This is reported as well by Screen Rant, and Batman is actually gassed by a paramilitary group. Now, this group alone would be a little bit controversial, because this was a group likened to the Youths, if you know, the famous leader of Germany that did quite a few bad things, killed a lot of people. He has some youths that have followed him both in America and in other places that believe he was in the right, and this would have been very similar to that, an extremist political group that would have been similar to that, the whole Third Reich, yikes, disaster, terrible part of history. And this whole thing would actually culminate with them gassing Batman, these youths, along with their mastermind extremist, and they would have gassed him because they believed that he could defend Gotham, but that he was not going far enough. It actually led him to start attacking friends of his and even drop a mugger from a rooftop, which easily could have killed the man, but somehow he was able to not kill him because, again, Batman, a little bit of censorship, especially early DCAU. It's interesting because this doesn't end here, right? If it was just this, obviously the inclusion of the paramilitary group would be something, but it goes further. Batman would then actually lure the rest of his rogues gallery to Gotham Stadium, where he planned to kill everyone in his rogues gallery by detonating a vest that was strapped with TNT explosives. We almost had Bomber Batman. This was a pitch and an idea. Now, it's worth mentioning that ultimately Robin would have prevented it from being too bleak, because he would have never lost hope for his mentor. He would have visited Joker in Arkham Asylum and manipulated the clown into talking about the gas so that they could develop an antidote. They would have even painted Joker in a weird horror light. Wise had described the Joker's entrance as akin to Hannibal Lecter, because he would have been wheeled in on a gurney wearing a straitjacket. And also he would have taunted Robin, and talked about how Batman ruined his life, essentially pointed out flaws with Batman, but then Robin would have manipulated Joker into helping and saving Batman during an emotional showdown. So essentially this would have been a very interesting way to show that Robin grounded Batman and was able to prevent him from going too far, right? And also to show that Robin was able to do something on his own, which is something that we, don't see very much in the early Batman the Animated Series, since Robin's appearances are a little sparse early on. But it would have been very, very dark. Now, one thing to mention is that this was pre-2001. That does not mean that there were no acts of terror in the world. It does not mean that there were no explosive devices detonated or anything like that killed people, but this was before 2001. This was before September 11th. So back in the 90s, this would have been less controversial than if it was put on TV today. However, they still believed that it was way, way, way too far, and the script was ultimately rejected. But despite that, Wise did talk about how he liked parts of the script that it did explore the idea of what happened when Batman was way out of line, what would happen if he went too far. Again, it's very, very interesting because these are timely events pretty much ever since, I would say, probably the 80s. There have been a lot of different explosive issues with death and extremism and all kinds of other stuff, right? So it's not like this wouldn't fit into the world, but for what was being pitched as a more directed at children cartoon, this was a lot. And it's interesting that it was ultimately rejected. However, it's kind of neat to see a peek behind the curtain. It's neat to hear Wise talk about what could have been with the series, what could have been an episode, and I can see why it was not greenlit. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Would you have wanted to see this? This sounds like it could have been quite a spectacle. Very interested to hear your responses down there. What do you think are some of the most dark episodes in the DC animated universe, both in Batman the Animated Series and in some of the other continuity inclusive cartoons, comics, etc.? Let me know. Hey, if you enjoyed this, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe for more content. I appreciate you very much. Also, hit that notification bell to be notified when we upload, when it works. That's a little jab at YouTube. And check out the description for everything else, including our secondary channel, Degenerate Plays, where we play through a wide variety of games and hang out with you. Have a fantastic day, everyone. And as always, stay shway.